So let's bring in one of the members standing by this president, Homeland Security Committee Republican Mark Walker. Congressman, great to have you on the show. Happy New Year.
Chris, my privilege. Same to you.
And no disrespect about the House. I think you should argue and debate AUMF. I've just heard it before. I've never seen it go anywhere. Let's put it to the future. We'll see what happens. No argument about Soleimani being a bad guy. I don't see how you could make the argument that he wasn't a threat to the United States for a long time.
A lot of evidence to support that.
The question is, this was an imminent threat. You know what that means.
Sure.
Should this president explain to the American people what that means?
I think that's the perfect question, Chris. And I think as much as he can, without putting in danger some of our assets throughout the Middle East, I think he can and I think he will. If you look at Soleimani here, why was this an imminent threat? Well, here he is, the general of Iran. He's over in Iraq, in Baghdad, meeting out with al-Mohandes and Mohammed Rida. Now, who are these two guys? These two guys led the mobilization forces that attacked our embassy.
Right.
So we have every reason to believe, as well as our intelligence, that something else was being put in the pipeline. And I think that's why the president felt the time to act was now.
I don't question the suggestion. I question the specificity for two reasons. One, there's a legal reason here. To avoid you in Congress, all right, the Constitution is very clear. You declare war. The president can defend when it's an imminent threat. Had to do it now. Had to, Congressman, sorry. Couldn't come to you. I'm supposed to talk to the Gang of Eight before. He didn't. I'm supposed to come to you within a certain period. He did, but in a general way. So this is about your power in Congress. The president is saying to the American people, had to do this. A meeting with a couple of guys does not mean I didn't have time to go to Congress. This president especially, Congressman, he's told us don't trust U.S. intel. I know that's insulting to you. I know you respect the apparatus. You're in charge of oversight with them. You're on the committee. He doesn't believe the way you do. Don't believe him. Show the proof. Show it now. He showed us nothing.
I believe the president acted within his rights and his authority. And here's why. If you look back historically, I voted for the President Obama to have some unilateral power when it comes to these kinds of events. The reason why this was so important now is because we believe that there were some other threats that were happening that he needed to act now. This was important to us, and I believe that did not overstep the boundaries or needed an AUMF. I just don't believe that, and I believe most Americans will see if you're looking at something that could potentially be happening over the next weeks or months, it was the right thing to do. This was a general. We don't need to reiterate his past.
Bad guy.
Cory Booker said there's blood on his hands. It was time for him to go.
Bad guy. But imminent, as we all know, it means like soon. Because why does it matter? It matters. I listened very closely to Secretary of State Pompeo. It doesn't matter if it's weeks or months if you're in the region. But it does legally, because when he was supposed to go to you. But the bigger question is this, Congressman, not to get in the weeds. This president said, don't trust U.S. intel. Make them show it to you. Why isn't he telling us already why we had to do this?
I believe he will share the proper information because I believe with the assets that we had on the ground giving us the intelligence we needed to move now. And here's where I get a little concerned about some of what I would call the hypocrisy. There were 2,800 Obama strikes with drone attacks, okay? Killed thousands of terrorists, unfortunately hundreds of civilians. There was not the same pushback from the right. We gave the President Obama, the unilateral authority to make sure that if he felt like was something that was imminent, we said go and we supported him.
But he's supposed to prove it to you. I've never been in favor of this, by the way, just so you know. All the way back to Clinton.
I know you've been consistent.
I think you guys have been abdicating power and letting presidents take more and more. And why is it an issue? Well, one, the Constitution says it's your job. Don't pass it on. I know you got burned on the war in Iraq. You got bad information. Now this could look like the same playbook. This was imminent, but they won't tell us why. Well, Same thing with yellow cake.
Well, I've tried to give you a couple reasons why.
Do you know the intelligence that they acted on?
I do not know the full intelligence, but I have a good bit. Well, here's why. Is because what we do know, and let me reiterate this, you've got General Soleimani.
Bad guy.
All right, in Baghdad, Iraq.
Bad place.
Meeting with those who have just attacked. All right, and if you remember, they even spray painted, Soleimani is our leader.
Right.
There was a growing connection there. If they're willing to attack the embassy, what's the next step they're going to make?
I'm totally with you. But that's why he should be coming out and telling us what it was. Because here's why. Is this Osama bin Laden? I think General Petraeus said, no, he's bigger. This is a bigger. I agree. Iran is no joke. People can say on television, we'll take him out in 3-4 days. You and I both know this is not a country to go into lightly. This was a very provocative act. This president has a duty to the American people to put us on the same page and say it's
does.
worth the risk. He said he wanted to get out of the region. He's now sending in people.
He does, and I'm not trying to pivot too much, but I was on the House floor when nearly 20 Democrats pushed back against Obama on the Iranian deal because of their concern that hundreds of millions of dollars would get to these people like Al-Mohandes and Mohammed Rida. That money did take place. Now, I would say this as well.
Please.
You and I are both Americans. I believe we're both Christians. And I think it's fair to say that our faith says that God loves the Muslim as much as the Jew, as much as the Christian. But there are some bad people every day of our lives waking up plotting our destruction.
Yes.
And sometimes that creates a reaction on the commander-in-chief with the intelligence to be able to push back.
I'm with him. I'm saying this president owes us an explanation. He told us not to trust U.S. intel. He told us he wanted to stay out of there. He said that Obama was stupid to do what he did. He said Bush was stupid to do what he did, that war was stupid. Now he's done the most provocative act of any of them.
So you want the very specifics as far as why you felt like they had the trigger now, as opposed to just some of the ramifications that this was what was being plotted.
Yeah, because this is a big deal. People are going to have their lives at risk. Iran is a dangerous
Chris,
group
we
of
have
people
never
with zealotry guiding
We
them.
have never shared every specific security and intelligence detail
You know,
with
look
the
where it got
American
us.
people.
Look where it got us with the war. Look at the war on
that
terror.
puts
It never
members
ends.
of Navy SEALs, CIA, that puts people in danger when we give those kinds of locations and that kind of specificity.
I
and
agree,
detail.
and I would never want to do that, but I will say this. That was not a barrier to entry for a lot of people in your party when it came to Russian interference and the FBI probe of other assets. Let them out, they said. Forget classification. This president could declassify anything he wants.
He can.
If it was okay then, this is a question that has a matter of life and death.
And I believe he's had a pattern of declassifying more information that we've even seen from other administrations, and I think more will come.
I hope so. Congressman, thank you. You are welcome on this show to argue the case to the American people. This can't be partisan because blue and red will bleed the same way after a terrorist attack.
No question.
Be well. God bless.
Thank you, my friend.